volunteer as worship leaders to do a Sunday service do it sometimes for selfish reasons. For me, the subject is often an idea that I want to know more about. A hole in our Sunday service schedule arose at one of our worship committee meetings, and I chimed in that I would do that service. I had no clue at the time what I was going to talk about. As the time came to put a title on the calendar with a description, the title, Love at the Center, popped into my head. What's a little bit amazing is that at the time that I decided the name of this service, I found an actual book at the Unitarian Universalist bookstore, online, called Love at the Center, which is about our present outlook on who we UUs are. The book is a compendium of writings by 30 UU ministers and lay people writing about the values that are at the center of our religion. At this time of year, the congregation chooses 3 people to act as our delegates to the yearly UU General Assembly. It's the General Assembly, which is known as GA in parlance, is our big meeting where people get together for trainings, big and little worship events, and an interesting exhibit floor where you can buy UU jewelry, candles, and other tchotchkes. It's our denominational convention. But it is also our big business meeting where we, the people, decide who we are and what we want to say to the world around us. We don't have a pope or bishops or theologians who decide on the holy tenets of our beliefs. We do have a president of the Unitarian Universalist Association who is a minister, and then we have also a moderator who is usually a layperson. They guide us in more administrative ways. When their term is up, they are both elected by our congregational delegates at the GA. Last year, I was elected as one of our congregation's delegates to the GA. We usually hold the GA in some city convention center. That year, this year it's being held in Baltimore for anyone interested in attending. But last year, it was strictly a Zoom meeting. And the most important part of the business meeting was about Article 2 of the bylaws, the UUA bylaws. Article 2 of our bylaws is where we state who we are. It is Article 2 that says that what kind of religion we are. Our Director of Religious Education, Jane Medell, who's in the other room now with the kids, she gave the congregation Zoom training on what the new Article 2 consists of. It was not the new Article 2 yet, because we had a vote on it, okay, but she gave us the training about what it was about. Prior to the GA, more than 10,000 Unitarian Universalists had answered complex questions about their faithful living. The outcome was the collective affirmation of love as the value most UUs describe as central to their faith, their living, and to the mission of their congregations. When I attended the business meetings at the GA, I wasn't sure how I felt about the new values that I was supposed to vote on. I had been a member for almost 25 years and was comfortable with what we had before, which was the 7 principles. It made sense. In our GA Zoom meetings, we had discussions and arguments presented, both for and against the new values. Eventually, it came to a vote, and I voted in favor of the new values. They made sense for who we are now. I think that our history has led us to these values. Ever since the merger of our 2 historic religions, Unitarianism and Universalism, in 1959, we have been evolving in our statement of identity that Article 2 is all about, about what Article 2 is all about. This doesn't seem so abnormal since many mainline religions have taken hundreds of years to formalize the tenets of their belief, even though Christian religions use the Bible as their main guideline. In 1985, UU delegates voted to install 7 principles as the core of who we are. But as time went on, the 7 principles satisfied fewer and fewer UUs. The principles were abstract. There were no verbs, no action words for an activist faith. One minister said that no one would want the principles read as comforting words at the side of their deathbed. You know, that's kind of said about it. It was because, according to Reverend Bill Sinkford, they articulated an ethical identity, not a religious identity. They included not one word of traditional religious language. Those 7 principles spoke about who we are until 2023, when we added an 8th principle. The 8th principle rose from the grassroots with All Souls Church Unitarian in Washington, D.C., leading the way. Their vision was calling us to see that challenge of racism and to understand how we are accountable. In 2023, we voted to accept the 8th principle, which says, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions." After the formalization of the 8th principle, people were energized to consider a new way to describe our religious identity. It is the history of our denomination that the formalization of our identity has always followed the will of the people in our congregations. At our 2024 GA, the delegates from across the country discussed and voted overwhelmingly to change the 2nd article in our bylaws to the new values. Last Sunday, Reverend Margaret pointed out the poster that's in the back of our sanctuary. It's over there. It looks like an atom. That's our new symbol for our values. This poster has the main words only that are used in our new UU values. The explanation that goes along with those simple words are these. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. The values we share include all of the following, which we hold as inseparable and deeply interconnected. Interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. Pluralism. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where we feel welcome and can thrive. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. With love at the center of our values, it is a recognition of the work that Unitarian Universalism has done. It's not a new concept for UUs. We have our UU t-shirt, as Joyce showed us today. It says "Side with Love." In some places, because of that t-shirt, we are known as the Love People, because of the shirts and because we also show up where love is needed. Our denomination was also early in the battle for the rights of LGBTQ+ people, and later for marriage equality. We were active participants on the side of love. The concept of love does not come out of soft love that evokes romantic novel or a Hallmark movie. Love is the most powerful experience that requires effort, real pondering, decisions, and actions based on those decisions. But does this love value lead us to the suggestion of a higher power? Our congregations are a mixture of people who believe in God and others who do not. The idea that God is love comes from the Gospel of John in the Christian New Testament. Our history speaks about this concept. Many UU congregations have used the covenant, "Love is the heart of this church." It begs the question, is this love a feeling or is it an action? Should we do more services with love as the motivating spirit, or should our love be embodied in acts of service and action? Our Unitarian Universalist ancestors believed that you have always been loved. The message was always the same. Love is God, God is love, and love will triumph over all. Bonner Skinner, a Universalist minister during World War I, believed that the Universalist idea of God is that of a universal, impartial, immanent spirit whose nature is love. It is the largest thought the world has ever known. For universalists, human love responded to the love that existed in the universe. One universalist wrote at the time of the merger with Unitarians, "We believe in love, cosmic love, as the creative force, and human divine love as the law of life." Some early universalists believed that regardless of how we behaved here on earth, a loving God would send everyone straight to heaven. For many UUs today, that idea would be too Christian for them. There's another way of looking at this idea of love at the center. Reverend Susan Frederick Gray says that to have a deity at the center makes the core question one of belief. To have love at the center invites the deeper question, how are we to live? Because love is a verb and a way of being in relationship. When I read to you the words in the 8th principle and in the justice value, the first letters of the words beloved community were capitalized. Those words came directly from a speech by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King at a 1956 victory rally celebrating the end of segregation on public buses. Dr. King talked about why the best way for blacks to achieve civil rights and voting rights were through nonviolent actions like boycotts. King said the end of nonviolent action is, and I quote, reconciliation. End is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this type of understanding goodwill that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men. The beloved community that Dr. King talked about was a society governed by love, not violence or conflict. Love is the most intense part of humanity. It is love that reminds us of connection when we grieve the loss of a loved one. What is it but love that evokes anguish in the face of injustice and sorrow at the degradation of the environment? What is it but love that brings our hearts to awe at the sight of a newborn baby? And our hearts awaken to wonder when we witness a rosy sunrise. We tend to feel grateful for all that we have been given when we appreciate what is given to us as acts of love. How is it that love can empower us to do wondrous things in the name of people, other beings, and the planet? We're not unusual. We love and use our love to power our work. Do you get up in the morning and work at a job that you hate because you love your family? Do you tend to the needs of your parents and children in the name of love? Do you show up at protests because you love the people that would be harmed because they would not have food, shelter, or medical care? Do you volunteer at Family of Woodstock because you have love for those who suffer poverty, loneliness, or depression? Do you donate money or food to the Blue Refrigerator in the name of love because you know that people are hungry? If so, you are a believer in the newly endorsed values of Unitarian Universalism. You believe in the power of love. So would it be? Please be still for a few moments in silence. By Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, who said, I was around 6 years old when I became desperately curious about the bigger questions in life. I remember how I would lie awake at night wondering about the universe, the meaning of life, what happens after we die, and whether or not there is a God. One night as my mom was tucking me into bed, I asked her, "Mom, do you believe in God?" Growing up a Unitarian Universalist, I learned about wonder and nature and how to be caring and respectful. But God was not a topic that came up much, especially at home. As my mom pulled the covers up to tuck me in, she took a moment to think about the question. Then she shared with me honestly that she didn't believe in God. But if she did, the God she believed in would be love.